Hello, and welcome to our fifth webinar in the series of platform engineering that we have been doing. And since this is the fifth time that we are meeting, don't you think we are forming a club sort of? And what if this was a TV show? Wouldn't it be cool? Something like Game of Code or things like Lord of the Platforms. I mean, that's a discussion that we can take in another webinar. But yeah, I'm back again with another webinar this week. And today we would be decoding internal developer portals with Port. I am Atul and I work as a senior developer advocate at InfraCloud where I do everything DevRel. So I spend my time building POCs and demos. I write blog posts and articles, do webinars like these, and do everything related to platform engineering, Kubernetes, and cloud native in general. I'm also a CNCF ambassador, so I conduct a lot of meetups in my home city here in Hyderabad, India. When I'm not working or not doing community things, I am a big time foodie and love going on road trips. And in my free time, I also enjoy cooking. Now, talking about cooking, every dish that you eat has a lot of ingredients, but all of these dishes have some secret ingredients that actually elevate the dish that you're eating. And similarly, today's webinar, I have two secret ingredients, or rather, two fantastic guests who are going to elevate and make this webinar extremely insightful. So let me bring upon the two guests today I have. I have Jenny from Port and there's Vishal from InfraCloud. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Vishal. Great. Thank you so much for joining in and continuing with our tradition of introductions. If you have seen these webinars earlier, you know that I don't introduce the guests introduce themselves. So, Jenny, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience? Tell us who you are, what do you do, where are you from, and what are your interests outside of work?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Jenny from Port. Um, I'm based in Tel Aviv. And before Port, I worked in the cybersecurity industry and in the FinOps industry. So gravitating around AppSec, DevOps, developers for a while. Outside of work, I have 3 kids, so they are taking a lot of my time. But I also really enjoy eating and cooking and board games.
Interesting. Eating, cooking, and board games. I love that
Yeah.
combination. Vishal, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hey, this is Vishal, founder and CTO at InfraCloud Technologies. I have been a developer in my past life, and at some point, DevOps is what got hooked me into systems and infrastructure and stuff like that. Uh, I think mostly my job today involves, helping companies adopt open source technologies and build out, platforms efficiently and effectively. Beyond work, mostly you'll find me either in mountains or a movie theater or library usually. But yeah, that's about me.
Interesting. So you are in a webinar and I still see a mountain behind you. So thank you so much, Jenny and Vishal, for joining in. So to all the guests, I think you see the diversity that we have on this webinar today, in terms of roles, in terms of skills, and even in terms of geographical locations. So I would be interested to know where are you joining in from. So, do put in the comments, what do you do and where are you joining in? So I know that how diverse the audience as well is for today's webinar. Moving on, since you all know, this is the fifth webinar that we are doing, and all the other previous webinars that we have done is available on our YouTube playlist. So you can go ahead and scan this QR code and get access to all the previous webinars. Having said that, it doesn't mean that you need to watch the previous webinars to start watching this. So if you're here and if you're watching this, just watch the previous webinars afterwards and continue with this at the moment. Now, a few housekeeping stuff. We would be taking in questions from all of you. So if you have any questions or suggestions or any doubts within during the session, please put them in the comments and we will take it up with Jenny and Vishal. Now, since this is the fifth video, I'm sure some of you, or at least all of you, would have got some understanding of platform engineering because we have been doing it for 2 months now. And I've been talking a lot about what is platform engineering. So, a lot of you would have probably remembered that it is the art and science of building and designing platforms. That's the phrase that I've been, using always. I feel that the definition of platform engineering actually varies from the perspective of the users who are using it. So if I talk about as a developer, so from a developer's perspective, platform engineering actually provides me a set of tools, a set of services or practices that actually help remove the complexities that I have in doing my tasks. So, complexities related to infrastructure or related to, networking, anything of that sort. Platform engineering helps me abstract all of this and help me focus on my particular task. Now, when I was preparing for this webinar, Jenny had an interesting point of view on platform engineering in terms of the definition. So, Jenny, why don't you tell us what, according to you, is platform engineering?
Well, it's actually not me, but it's a definition that I really like. I'd like to quote Michael Levan, which I really like, and I highly recommend to follow after him on LinkedIn. In LinkedIn, he's a platform engineering influencer. And the way he defines platform engineering is taking everything that we've been doing in the cloud native landscape and just adding it, one, a product mindset, and second, a customer mindset. And I really like this approach because at the end, as platform engineers, we really want to serve, the developers to just get a better experience. And doing it with a customer mindset and a product mindset is actually the right approach, from my opinion.
Absolutely. I think having the customer mindset in whatever we do, whether you are an individual contributor or a team building spacecraft, I think in the end it matters who your end users are and to focus on them. So we'll definitely be touching upon that as we go through the session. And now that we all know about platform engineering, what platforms are, I think one thing that we have been discussing over the previous editions of this webinar as well is that a lot of people know about platforms and platform engineering, and they might have the resources also in place. So they might have an army of engineers and an army of SREs to build a particular platform. But then the whole idea of where to start, how to start, is something that leaves everyone in a question mark. How do we get about it? So that's where we at InfraCloud are bringing this platform engineering reference architecture ebook, which is based on our interactions with our customers, clients, as well as the community, the work that we have done towards the community on platform engineering. So we took all the learnings, and in this ebook, we have provided everything that a platform team needs to get started. So things like reference architectures, tool recommendations, blueprints, capability maps, and even questionnaires. So you can go through these questionnaires, which will help you assess where you stand in your platform journey, which will make it easy for you to start your platform journey and build a platform for your team. This ebook is freely available. All you have to do is scan that QR code and get the ebook, and get access to all the material that we have said. Now, this ebook has a lot of material, since just as I called out. But one of the things that I would be touching upon today would be the AAA framework. So we call this as the Adopt, Accelerate, and Assess framework. So in the previous videos, we did speak about the capabilities every platform should have. And we broke these capabilities into three buckets. So we have develop, consume, and discover. So all the services and tools that a developer needs to build their application would get into the develop bucket. So you will see things like workload specifications, you'll see things like service templates. So these are required to build a particular application. Similarly, everything that a developer uses, consumes for their application will fall in the consume bucket. So you have databases, registry, message queues. And similarly, there are auxiliary services which help improve the application. So we have things like observability, fleet management, developer portals coming into the discover category. Now, while we have all these capabilities with us, we need to understand that building a platform is not a one-time job. It is an iterative job. It is something that goes over and over again. And that is where this AAA framework comes in. So you adopt the set of services and technologies that your team uses. You take that and then you accelerate your developers' productivity, onboarding of them, onboarding of the tools, and then eventually you discover the services that you need to maintain the applications. And this entire cycle of adopt, accelerate, and assess, this continues over and over again as your platform matures over time. So this is just the crux of what is there in that ebook. So you can get your hands on that ebook and get access to whatever is present there. Now, over the years, the whole idea of improving developer productivity started with the practice of DevOps and Agile. And in this case, the idea was to ensure that all the people, including your developers, operations teams, stakeholders, come on a common platform. While it's easier said than done, it is extremely difficult to get all of them on board. And this is just one challenge that developers face. I'm sure there are a lot of other challenges which are there while developers are working to build something. So Jenny, what are the other challenges according to you that developers face?
Yeah, I think I'll go in your directions. So basically today in the engineering landscape, there are like two forces. The first force is the fact that the cloud native landscape is becoming extremely complex. Every day we will hear about new technologies, new tools, new best practices, new processes that are needed in order to develop an application. So this is one of the forces in this landscape. The second force is the shift left, a kind of a culture that we're having. And today, which is part of the agile methodology, and not like 10 years ago, developers are not only responsible to, develop application, but they are responsible for their application end to end, meaning that they need to develop it, they need to be responsible for security, FinOps sometime, post-production, they deal with incidents. And in one hand, like it's becoming more and more complex and there are more and more technologies. In another hand, the developers are getting more and more responsibilities, and it's just getting very, very complicated to manage all of that. And from my point of view, like this brings a lot of challenges. Uh,
Yep, I can probably imagine that, a developer getting on the team, hoping that he would be building something, and suddenly the team lead throws at him, hey, go and implement Trivi and see how the image is signed. And what once the developer was expecting to build something now is required to configure scanning for his images. Vishal, what are your thoughts on this? Anything that you would like to add?
Sure, sure. So I think in the last decade or so, we have seen the complexity of the applications that we build, fundamentally much, much different than the decade prior to that. And all that also has been coupled with, evolution of cloud, on premises, database technologies. For example, if you look at early 2000s, we probably had like a couple of databases. In the late 2000s, we now have, probably three different databases, one caching system, one messaging system, and whatnot, right? So technically, a developer, an engineer who's writing a service today is talking to potentially a few databases, some cloud services, some SaaS services, another few internal services, and maybe some libraries and stuff like that, right? When you're dealing with this kind of a complex environment, you want all of these other systems to be easily available, accessible, and using the latest and best of the documentation possible, right? Now, how do you bring all of this together without them having to actually go and understand every other block that they have to deal with, right? And I think making that interface easier for them, so they can still focus on developing their service and not how to learn gazillion other things. I think is a big thing that has to change from a developer standpoint.
Absolutely. I think the boom of the tools that you said, from one database to 10 databases, caching mechanism, it's basically a complex landscape that has happened. And it is the need of the hour to ensure that, we bring all of them under one umbrella, or at least make it easily accessible and reduce the complexity. Now, whatever challenges that we discussed in the last 1 minute is, I can say, it's the tiniest tip of the iceberg. So it's not the tip, but it is the tiniest tip of the iceberg. There is a whole world of challenges that are associated. I'm sure a lot of developers who are watching this can probably relate to that as well. Now, for each of these challenges, you cannot apply a band-aid fix. So if you have a particular challenge, you cannot just go and put something over there to fix that. You probably need a holistic approach. You need to take an approach that probably takes care of all these, or if not all, at least majority of these, and it suits your team, your suits your developers. And that is where I feel platforms come to the rescue. They are a holistic approach. And I think to talk more about, how platforms help us, I would again, let Jenny tell us on, how do you think internal developer portals or platforms in general help, and how does it impact the developer productivity, and the overall experience?
Yeah, so basically, platform has came to solve those exact challenges, right? In the cloud native landscape, we had the DevOps, and the role of DevOps was to facilitate and to help developer do their job better. But then the platform movement came, and the platform movement say yes, like we do want to help developers, but we don't want to just do stuff for them. So we don't want them to open a ticket and I don't know, to spin up a dev environment or to spin up a cloud resource and just solving those tickets themselves. But we do want to enable developer to shift, to really shift left, but not in a way that overwhelms them, but in a way that makes it easier for them. And we are talking with customer every day at Port, and we are hearing the same story over and over again, like platform engineers or DevOps that are telling us, yes, they are opening a ticket for us to, I don't know, having to spin up a developer environment. Sometimes it can take hours. The developer experience is broken, and it's also like we as DevOps, we are doing the same things over and over again, and like it's not challenging, it's not interesting, and we're getting to that point. So the idea of a platform and portal that are on top of it is really to help developers self-serve themselves and giving them all the information they need in one centralized place. And giving them the information they need is not just, like, let's just give them everything, but doing it in a very smart way. And having, like, asking them, the platform engineers need to ask themselves this question: what do I want to expose to my developer? What do I want to abstract? Because I don't want to show them everything. I don't want to overwhelm them. I want to show them what they need when they need it in a centralized place. And that's why you need to have like this kind of a product approach of like, okay, what do they need? What actions are they performing the most? How do I enable them to do that on their own while keeping on the guardrail and the golden path that are important to me as a DevOps, and having, like, asking yourself all those questions and reiterating, like I like the scheme that you were showing before. That's how platform and portals help, like by really helping developers self-serve themselves and getting all the information they need in one centralized place. And 80% of the work that they will be doing should be on their IDE and on the portal.
Absolutely. I think with the gamut of tools that we have that Vishal spoke earlier, it makes total sense to have most of them in front of the developers to make it easy for them to access. I think before I, go out to Vishal for his comments, I think Bhupesh gives us a very interesting thing in the comments, and he says that I guess more often than not, a lot of issues come up when developers rush to adopt a technology straight after its release. And he's looking at the CNCF list of projects. And I'm sure all of us agree with that. The CNCF list itself is an ever expanding list, and there are a lot of tools coming in. So, Vishal, any thoughts on this and the overall arching theme of platforms to the rescue?
Sure. So I have a small, interesting story. So Bell Labs was a place of innovation, most of 1920s to 70s, and they had the most number of patents and innovations done in that era. And there was a study done, on why did they end up, innovating so much. And the common theme between the top 10 researchers that they found was a Swedish engineer called Harry Nyquist. And the interesting story is, all of these scientists used to have lunch with Harry, and bounce off their ideas and stuff like that, right? So Harry was not the most brilliant scientist or engineer, but he was the glue that was able to bounce off ideas from these scientists. And I think the same principle applies to a lot of organizations where there are people who are glue people who make things work or connect together and stick together, right? So I think of platform as that glue, that adhesive that enables different teams, different parts of organizations to come together on a single page, collaborate and do things together, right? So to me, platform is like a glue that connects various dots of your organization in a way.
Interesting. So we have seen as a service models, but Vishal says it's as a glue model. So platform as a glue is something we all can
I
think,
like
and it's
it.
yeah, and it's pretty practical as well. As you rightly mentioned, it basically glues in everything that is required. So it's been about 20 minutes, and we have discussed everything from the challenges and how the challenges that developers face and how platforms help prevent those challenges in a way, and also help basically come to the rescue essentially. So now, having understood that, I think the next logical step is to understand how to build a platform that actually does this. To build a platform that actually takes care of all the challenges that the developers are facing. So uh, the one of the driving forces that I read a lot around platforms is the whole ideology of as a product. So you think of your platform as a product, and like Jenny mentioned earlier, have the customer mindset where essentially your developers are the customers to your platforms, and keeping your developers in mind, you start building a platform so that you have a better adoption, so on and so forth. Now, even when you have a platform as a product mindset with you, there are some considerations that you need to keep in mind when you build a particular platform. So, Vishal, I would like to start with you for this one. What are some technical or architectural things that teams should keep in mind when they start building a platform?
Um, I think I have said this before, and I'll say it for the sake of kind of completeness. Start as small as you can. Sometimes just a GitHub README properly documented for your service is the platform for you if you're a very small early stage team, for example, right? And then you start building slowly and steadily from there in terms of what your developers and various other personas in the engineering organization need, right? And when it comes to, I think, technicalities or architectural parts of it, I would definitely try to stick with a very API first approach, because not all your consumers are going to be web based. Some personas would like to have a CLI based approach. Some people might have a different, like a mobile front end, whatever makes sense, right? So API first is absolutely the right requirement. I wouldn't be too parenting about microservices to start with. It might be a monolith to begin with, and once you've grown to certain size and scale, you could probably go with slightly more. Uh, I would say so. I think any principle that applies to application development in general kind of applies to developing platforms internally. And I think again, same thing. How much of you want to build versus buy again is a very important question to ask. It doesn't make sense for you to build everything because there is a maintenance cost associated with that in longer run. So I think all those good decisions that you do when you develop an application also apply to building a platform from a technology standpoint, I would say.
Absolutely, and I think I do remember, a personal anecdote that I want to share was, while we were building the CNCF platform's white paper, that the maturity model, there was a discussion around the interfaces. So, deciding whether the users of your platform would be using GUI, whether they want a dashboard, they want a CLI, or they want an API. I think that's a critical aspect. So, if you go through the maturity model, uh, we have given a lot of emphasis on interfaces and how you need to interact with your teams to decide what is the best approach for your team and the best approach for your platform that you are building. Jenny, what are your thoughts around this?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I would like to add maybe a few things around a platform or portal as a product. The first thing is usually when you will come to I don't know, a vendor or even an open source to build your platform, your portal, sorry, you have a very specific use case in mind. Okay, it can be like you want to have a service catalog, or you want to allow the developer to do some self-service actions. But it is very, very important when you start building your platform to stay very focused about the future, because the use case that you're having today are not the use cases that you're going to have in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months from here. And you do want your portal to be flexible enough to be able to support all the future use cases that you will be having, that you don't think about them today because you don't know like what are going to be the needs in the future. So one important consideration when you're considering a portal is like, is it flexible enough? Does it give me enough flexibility to build a data model that will fit my today needs? And it's very, very important, but also the needs that we'll have for tomorrow. This is like one very, very important aspect. The second aspect will be the personalization aspect. And again, like not all organizations are the same. Like, for example, you can take, we have customers that are banks and other customers that are startups. And, you know, banks are highly regulated environment and startups are more, you know, dynamic. And they're not operating the same. So you do need, and it's again, it also touch a little bit to the flexibility, but also the ability to personalize your portal the way that it will fit your cultural needs. And this is very, very important as well. Another maybe aspect that is a little bit more technical, I would recommend to go for a portal that has an API first approach, because you do want like this interoperability with other tools. And this is very, very important that all the functionality of the portal will be also exposed via API and not only a UI or a different interface, so that you can, you know, make sure that it will interoperate with other different tools.
Interesting. You know, I totally relate to the fact that, you know, even though you are building today, but you need to think about the future. And, you know, while you're building, you need to understand whether what you are building is actually going to support you and your team in the future. So that's a very valid and genuine point, Jenny, that you have made. And there is one question, you know, I think we have a few seconds, you know, before we can wrap up this discussion. There's one question coming in from LinkedIn. I'll just flash it on the screen from Shahruz. And he asked, you know, assuming the first use case for IDPs is building developer self-service portal, can they also be used for troubleshooting? If yes or no, how verbose should be the logs and metrics of the underlying tools and technologies or be on an IDP? Jenny, Vishal, anyone of you who wants to take this?
Yeah, I mean, it can definitely be built, you know, for troubleshooting. Ideally, and Vishal, I will be grateful if you can compliment me on the technical side. But ideally, what the portal does is that it will expose whatever, you know, metadata and data that you're having from your observability monitoring tools, and then it will expose them on the IDP for your developers. And again, like the question is, what do you want to expose? What do you want to abstract?
Right. I think Jenny is spot on. You know, there could be, for example, for a given service, there could be 10, 20 dashboards. You want to expose all of them onto your IDP. Is a choice you'll have to make, you know, for every service. And I think the verbosity of the logs or metrics wouldn't be different in your actual monitoring tool versus in the IDP. You know, it will be very similar in my opinion.
Got it. Got it. So yes, I think Sharuz, I hope this answers your query. They can be used for troubleshooting as well. So yeah, thanks Jenny and Vishal. And I think with that, you know, we can wrap up this part of the webinar, you know, where we discussed everything from challenges that developers face to seeing how platforms actually come to the rescue and provide a holistic approach rather than a band-aid fix, and eventually looking at you know, how to build platforms, and you know, Vishal giving the technical considerations, while Jenny, you know, taking a different lens altogether and talking about the flexibility and the future of platform. And I think that brings us to a very perfect juncture where we can talk about Port, which is a platform that allows us to build IDPs. And without me doing much of the talking, I think I'll give Jenny the control and, you know, to drive the next further session of this webinar. So Jenny, over to you.
Thank you. Can you move to the next slide, please? Yeah, okay. So yes, Port. So we are a tool that allows you to build your own internal developer portal. And the idea of Port, as I was saying before, is that it really allows you to build a portal that will completely fit your DNA and your needs, the needs of today and also the needs of tomorrow. And we were talking about portals, and the idea of the portal is actually to be able to provide to developers an end-to-end developer experience. And we want developer to, beside the IDE, which is their environment where they're doing all the coding, we want them to be to use a single centralized place to do everything or all the different steps across the SDLC, which is like planning their day, so they can start their day, open the portal, and I will show you in the demo. Going to their homepage and see like what are the open Jira tickets and managing their PRs, and they can see when is their upcoming on-call rotation from the portal. And then, while developing, they want to find API documentation, and they want to know who are service owners for very specific service. They want to add a cloud resource using infrastructure as code. Maybe they need to scaffold a new service, so they can self-serve themselves, and they can find all this documentation in the portal in one centralized place. And then we're moving on, and we want to ship the features, and we want to maybe build, promote, and deploy through the portal. We can also toggle feature flags from the portal, running migrations, etc., that can also be done through the portal. And post-production, I want to be able maybe to rollback a version, to restart a service. We've been asked if we can use the portal for troubleshooting, so we can like understand health of services. We can notify a service owner on an incident. We want to do some troubleshooting, so we need temporary permission to a database. We can request this permission from the portal, and really managing all of this through the portal. Now, when you're going to build the portal, you're not going to have, full-blown portal from day one. Usually what we recommend is starting with a very, very common use case. Usually, customer will start with a service catalog and like maybe consuming infrastructure as code, and building on top of it based on the need that your organization is having. Of course, the portal is not the one that is providing all the logic. The portal is just the presentation layer. So you're seeing here Port in the middle. And I like to talk about all the tools in the platform as backend, while the portal will be the front end. Okay. And what we do is that we are connecting with all the different tools in your platform. You can ingest that data from your platform to Port. And remember what we've been talking about before. What do you want to expose? What do you want to abstract? And Port will act as a presentation layer for your different tooling. And from Port 1, you will be able to consume information from the different tools that you're having. If it's your cloud environment, your CI/CD platform, your Kubernetes, your Terraform, your databases, whatever you're using. So one, you will be able to consume information directly from Port. And the second is that you will be able to perform actions from Port that will have an influence on your tooling. And usually portals are made of 4 different pillars. The first will be the software catalog. And it's different from the service catalog. So service catalog will be, everything services, but we do like to talk about it as a software catalog because we do want to get information not only about the service, but about everything, about our cloud environment. We want to have, information about our running service, what's in production, what's in staging, etc. We want to have information about packages, vulnerabilities, costs, and all of this will be within the catalog. So this is the first pillar of a portal. The second pillar is what we call a scorecard. And this is a pillar we didn't touch on it a lot, but it's the pillar that will make sure that you're complying with your organizational standards. And basically, based on the information that you're having on your platform, you can create some scorecards to make sure that you are complying with standards and you are acting and working according to the required quality. And again, it's more for managers, but it's taking all the analytics that you're having on your tooling, brings it into the portal, and then you can make some ruling around it and check for compliance. The third pillar will be the self-service, and that we touched a little bit. So really allowing developers to self-serve themselves, to consume infrastructure as code, to perform some actions like asking for a temporary permission to a database, etc. Another pillar that is very interesting is the workflow automation. This is one that I really, really like. This one is talking about the fact that in the catalog, you're having a lot of information, right? And then once you're having all this information, it can be very, very interesting to be able to create some automation based on the information that you're having in the portal. So I'll give you an example. If you spin up a developer environment, you can just set up a TTL of like for each developer environment, like it will be no more than, I don't know, 4 days. And then the TTL will auto terminate this developer environment. And then you ensure that you don't have any orphan resource that is draining your budget. And second, you are complying like with some security rules. And it can be done with an workflow automation. There is a fifth pillar that I like to add on it, which is the visualization dashboards pillar that I'm going also to touch on it in the demo. And I forgot to say, sorry, everything should be also managed with a very strong RBAC system, so a very strong role-based access control. And if you remember, we talk about personalizing the portal, and personalizing the portal is not only putting in nice logos and the colors, etc., but it's actually showing to different persona different things in the portal. Me as a developer, I don't need to see the same thing. Me as a front-end developer, I don't need to see the same thing as a back-end developer, maybe. And me as a developer, I don't need to see the same thing as my AppSec or an SRE or etc. etc. And RBAC is what allows you to create this kind of personalization so that everyone sees only what is relevant for them, and we are avoiding all the cognitive load that way.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for that, wonderful description. So, guys, if you have any questions or queries related to whatever Jenny has spoken till now or based on our earlier discussion, please put them into the comments. And now we'll be moving on to the exciting part of the webinar, the demo, all the theoretical stuff that we have learned. Now we'll be putting it into action. So again, it's all Jenny who would be sharing the demo with us for Port.
Yeah, okay, good. So first of all, we're having a live demo available in our website. So if you go to getport.io and you click here on live demo, you can access it. You don't need to put your email. You can just, if after this, if I was interesting enough and you want to explore a little bit more about Port or developer portal, you can just access it by clicking here. You don't need to input anything, no email, and nothing. So this is really generally available for everyone. And this is a portal, and this is an example of a portal. Of course, it can be personalized. We talk about it to fit your exact needs and use cases. And I always like to start my demos with the homepage. And homepage is just, a page that can be personalized for the developers. And here, for example, we decided for this demo to show my open Jira ticket. And then, you can see like the different Jira tickets with a direct link to Jira. So we're having a developer, they're starting their days, and they want to see like what they need to work on here. Like they have their Jira ticket, the to-do, the in progress, etc. We've chosen here to have also my open pull request. So we can see like the different, all my pull requests that are open here. We've
Jenny,
decided to put.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Can you just check the window that you're sharing? I think we are.
It didn't move to the. I can see. It didn't move to the. When I click on it, it moved to another tab.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Now we can see the homepage. Perfect.
Sorry
And maybe
for
if you
that.
want, yeah, maybe if you want, you can zoom in. Yeah, maybe you can zoom in a bit little as well. So
yeah, sure.
the entire view, and yeah.
Okay. So again, this is the homepage for the developer, and we're having widgets. Okay, different widgets, and you can add widgets, you can remove widgets, you can reorder the page as you want. But here, what we've chosen to show is the Open Jira ticket. So you can see here with a direct link to Jira, the Open Pull request. What we're having here is like we decided to have kind of a billboard maybe for the developers here. And you can also embed some graphs from Grafana or from Datadog or whatever. And that will be the homepage. And I like to think of developers starting their day from the homepage, just planning like what they're going to work on based on what they're having here. The next part will be the catalog. Okay. So here we're having like we are landing on the service catalog page, but in the catalog, as I said before, we have like many different kind of catalog. We can see deployments, we can see services, we can see services runtime, we can see Kubernetes cluster, and basically you name it, and the portal should be able to catalog it. That's the idea. So let me show you how service catalog might look like. So here I'm a developer. Maybe I've been starting to work on a different team, and I want to know what are the services that I'm responsible for now. And I'm hearing I'm having a list of services, and I can see the name of the service, who are the code owner, in what language it was written. I have direct link to the GitHub URL. I have the link to the Slack channel. I know who's on call for that specific service. I have link, to monitoring tool like Grafana, Datadog, whatever. And I'm having like this kind of very, very comprehensive view. And if I want to even get more information about that service, I can click on it. And here I'm getting much more. And what I really like about what we're having here is that we're having static information, right? So for example, who's the code owner, but also dynamic information, like the on-call that will be taken directly from PagerDuty, the number of vulnerabilities that I'm having on this service. And we are hearing a lot from prospects and customers that are telling us that they are managing today their services on the spreadsheet. And basically, when you do it on the spreadsheet, yes, you can have like all the static information, but all the dynamic information is just impossible to get on an Excel file. And here, like using a portal and ingesting the data directly from your tooling, you're having all this also dynamic information. So we're having here, you can see like a lot of information. We can also like have embed the README, the Swagger file for all the API. It's loading. We have here all the related entities. So for example, my service, I want to know the live instances of this service, so I can know where it's running. So it's running right now in production. Oh, okay. It's running in production, in QA, in Sandbox, and I'm having like all the different live instances of this service. I can also watch the deployment history with the deployment status, the upstream dependencies and downstream dependencies of the service, and also if there are any detected alerts, for this very specific service. So again, I'm getting all this static and dynamic information about my services in one centralized place. I don't need to go to Sentry to get the alerts and to go to Argo CD like GitHub Action and see the deployment history. I have everything in one centralized place, which is really, really convenient. So that was the catalog, and as I told you, like we're having not only services but many other entities, cloud environment, etc., etc. The next part, the next pillar of a portal will be the self-service, and here we've really defined a lot of self-service action that can be performed from the portal. And there are in Port, there are 3 different types of self-service action. The first one is create action. So for example, I have here, I want to scaffold a new service, or we talk about it. I want to create a developer environment. I just need to fill a form, like the environment name, the team. I can put here a TTL, the relevant service. I will click execute, and it will be spin up for me, which is really, really nice. I can create the cloud resources. I want to have I don't know, Lambda function, so I can do it directly here from the portal. And here, like it, you just click on execute and you get it, but you can also add some manual approval if you want, which is also really nice. The second type of action that you can define is day two operation. So it's not a create, but more day two operation. So for example, restarting a service, creating an issue on Jira, locking deployments, rollback running service, starting a cluster, changing incident owner, many different actions that can be done directly from the portal instead of going to all the tools and doing it on the tools directly. And the third one will be delete action. So like here, for example, we've defined deleting a repo and deleting a developer environment, which can also be done from the portal. So this is the second part, the self-service. Coming back maybe to the catalog, something that I didn't show, and I talk about it when I talk about the different pillars of a portal, is the visualization. And visualization is a way to visualize information that are interesting for you. So I'm taking here, for example, a security dashboard that we've been creating based on the information that we're getting from many different security tools. Here, I think we're having Dependabot, Sneak, Trivy, and we're having like this kind of pie charts showing us the misconfiguration by severity, by categories, vulnerabilities by severity and by source. We have a list of all the critical misconfiguration. We have a list of all the critical production vulnerabilities. And also we have like all the fixable critical vulnerabilities. So that you can, if you have, you need to work a little bit on security and you want to prioritize. So here you know exactly like what are the vulnerabilities, what is the install version, what should be the fixed version, and you know on what to focus. So that will be the dashboard. I don't want to touch now on scorecard, but there is also, as I said before, the ability to define some standards and to check it on the portal. Just don't want to overwhelm too much. So that will be the end of my presentation, unless you have any question.
Interesting. Thank you so much, Jenny, for that. I think if somebody asked me that what are the two things that I want to take away from this demo, I think the first thing would be the dashboard. Like you told, it's not just visualizing things, but for me as a developer, it is giving me a bird's eye view of the entire infrastructure and application and showing me, where things are wrong or where things are, going good. So that's one thing. Second, when you showed about the various actions that a developer can perform here. So, you spoke about the create actions, you spoke about the day two operations, you spoke about delete. So I could very well relate to the capabilities that we have defined in our ebook, which was around, develop, consume, and discover. So, developing is creating something, and then consuming is, taking some services and putting it in. So yeah, I think very wonderful and insightful demo. I could relate to it. I'm sure our viewers are also able to relate to it. Before I think we move on, there is one question that I just saw pop up on my screen. So I think, Jenny, this is for you. I'm just flashing it on the screen. Yeah, so Naveen asked, Jenny, you spoke about thinking about the future or flexibility of the platform. Can you share some areas that teams should not miss when they start planning or building the platform?
Yeah. So first of all, as I said before, you never know what you don't know, right? And that what you really need to consider when you want to build your platform is first that you're having an open data model, so that you can model everything. You can own the data model. You can add properties to the data model. You can add entities to the data model. Name them as you want. you want to make sure that the platform is extensible, so it can integrate with a variety of tools, and it has like open framework to add extensions. That would be the two things I would really check before considering a portal.
Interesting. And I think that the point you mentioned about data models, I'm sure you know as years pass, it will be very difficult to change the data model. And I think you really hit the right spot with this particular point. So I think Naveen, I hope Jenny has answered your question, and thank you so much for asking that thoughtful and insightful question. So yeah, I think demo was wonderful, and I think here's the QR code which you can scan to, get access to the demo that Jenny just showed. And as she told, it's free. You don't have to do anything. Just scan the QR code and start using Port. So if you are interested, I'm definitely interested. So I'll definitely go and check out Port. So if you are, just scan the QR code, and you can go ahead and try Port. Moving on. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be at
Jenny, anything
KubeCon.
on this?
Yeah, we'll be at KubeCon. I will be there. So I will be happy to meet you there. We will be on booth C34. Come say hello. We'll be happy to meet you there.
Interesting. Yes. So with KubeCon just a week away, if you are attending KubeCon and you want to know more about Port, make sure to visit Port's booth at C34, interact with Jenny and her entire team. Also plugging in, if you want to know anything about platform engineering, I'll be there in person as well. So you can catch hold of me, and we can discuss anything platform engineering, cloud native, so on and so forth. So yeah, I think to sum things up, we had a pretty nice and insightful discussion today. Like always, we started by touching upon the challenges, and then looking at how portals come into picture as a holistic approach to address those challenges, and eventually looking into the various aspects that we need to understand when we are starting our journey to build a platform. And then we had Jenny giving us a deep dive into Port. Deep dive might be a wrong word, but yeah, she did give us a good overview of what all Port can do. And yeah, and all of you had quite interesting questions that we had asked our guest. And yeah, if we don't, I'll still give a few seconds while I'm going through a few things. If you have any further questions or suggestions, we can drop them in the comments, and we can take it up with Vishal and Jenny as well. And like Jenny pointed out, repeating it again, if you or anyone is visiting KubeCon, do make sure to check out Port, interact with me around platform engineering, and we would be more than happy to interact and move ahead with that. So yeah, to finally close things, thank you so much, Jenny and Vishal, for giving your time. I'm sure I got a lot of learnings. Every webinar that I'm attending, it's more like learning in public for me. I have the privilege to have both of you here and learn from you, and impart that knowledge with everyone. So thanks again, Jenny, for sharing your valuable time and information with all of us.
Sure, I was happy. Thanks for you.
Interesting.
Thanks to you too for listening.
Thank you so much, Atul.
Absolutely cool. Then, so thank
Okay.
you everyone once again for joining in. It was a wonderful session again, and we will be coming back with another webinar soon. So you can keep an eye on our LinkedIn, Twitter, and other social channels. You can watch our previous webinars on YouTube. Until then, thank you. Stay safe, and bye bye. See you all at KubeCon.
Bye.